delivery dates of a $1,400 fourth stimulus check specifically focused on Social Security, including retirement, disability, SSDI, survivors, SSI, VA, RRB, low income, and no income. I have all the details and what you need to know right here in the video, so let's get right into it. All right, now this continues to be a very common question showing up down below in the comments section, where many of you right here on the channel have been reaching out asking, when are we going to be getting a check? When is a check going to be delivered? When am I going to see it in my bank account? These are all some very good questions and exactly what I want to focus on right here in the video for you to let you know where we currently stand, what is going on, and what's the likelihood of another check. So let's get into it and discuss all the details. However, really fast before we do, thank you so much for joining me. If you're new here or if you haven't done so yet, please make sure to subscribe by hitting the button right down below the video. As I am your one and only daily advocate, I am very much dedicated to you and this community to continue watching all these new announcements and information hitting the wire every single day, breaking it all down into these short videos, which I deliver a couple times throughout the day so you can stay updated with what is actually going on as things are changing very rapidly and as we continue to get all these new announcements coming out of the administration, the president, lawmakers, Congress, and everything that Congress is currently working on, including all the new bills, packages, proposals, amendments, reform to very important benefits, as well as anything in regards to money, benefits, raises to benefits, checks, stimulus, programs, or anything along those lines. Of course, I want to be here for you, breaking all that information down and letting you know what's out there available to us or what may be coming in to impact our money, our benefits, lifestyle, our bank accounts, and anything else like that going forward. It's a very busy time right now, and realistically, it's only going to get even more busy. So again, thanks so much for joining me. Please make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet, and let's get into it and talk about the questions that many of you have been asking down below in the comments section. When, who, where, delivery dates, all of this business. Let's get into it. However, before we get into it any further, I want to put this out there right now before we get any further into this video, which is, as of right now, a fourth stimulus check has not been approved yet, okay? So I just want to make that very clear so we're all on the same page here. Whether it's a $1,000 check, $2,000, $1,400, or literally any other amount in between, doesn't really matter. As of right now, a fourth check has not been approved yet, okay? So I want to make sure that everybody's on the same page here. However, let me answer some of these questions for you because, believe it or not, there's a lot going on, and realistically, over the next couple months here, it's going to get even more busy going forward. All right, so as we know, as of right now, we are rapidly approaching the midterm elections. What happens prior to elections? And again, this is not a political statement in any way, shape, or form directed at either side. It is simply just right down the middle, which is, we all know, prior to election time, we all know that politicians love to make a bunch of promises. Well, we're kind of counting on that because here's why. Between now and midterm elections, I would anticipate we're probably going to get some pretty big promises out of some lawmakers. Who? I don't really know. I don't really know who's going to be the person to come out and say something like this, but I would not be shocked to see some kind of big promises coming out of lawmakers. And again, could it be in regards to a stimulus check? I guess it could be, but could it be in regards to anything else going on out there right now, like money or something else like that for the people? I mean, realistically, what gets the people's attention? Money, right? We all know this, right? So that's why politicians love to make these big promises. The fact of the matter is, can they deliver on the promises that they've made? Well, that's the next question. That's the big key question that all of us really want to know is, can they actually deliver? Well, that's a really good question, which honestly, nobody really knows the answer to that as of right now anyway. But we're rapidly approaching the midterm elections. This is a key factor that we need to take into consideration. Now, a couple other things I want to throw out there for you as well. Now, many of us, well, I shouldn't say many, some people are thinking that as soon as the midterm elections actually are over with, that all of a sudden Congress is going to change. No, actually it doesn't change for another 2 months after the midterm elections. In fact, the new Congress is not even sworn in until January of next year, right? So at that point, the same Congress that is in effect right now is still going to be in effect through the rest of the year. So if this Congress still wants to get something done in the form of stimulus checks, again, they could absolutely get that done if they just so wanted to do so. Now, here's a couple of things that I want to throw out there for you as well, because these are going to be very key factors that we need to take into consideration as we go forward toward the midterm elections and, of course, beyond the midterm elections. Now, here's the thing. Depends on what happens here with the midterm elections. And again, I don't want to make this video all about the midterm elections, but I do want to make this very clear because this is very, very important. Now, let's just say something goes on with the midterm elections. And again, I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't have a crystal ball. I have no clue what's going to happen with the midterm elections. However, depending on what happens with the midterm elections, depending on what goes on there, as in if Democrats maintain control of everything, if the House and or the Senate flip, if any of the combination actually happen, again, if any of this actually happens, remember this much as well. Between now and the end of the year, when the new Congress is sworn in early January, guess what happens? Well, if anything happens with this Congress and the midterm election, guess what? They have a couple months to get something done, and they may just scramble to get something done before the end of the year. In the event there's going to be a flip in Congress, then they may think, hey, we have 2 months to get this done. Let's do it and get something done right now, because it might be a mad dash between the midterm elections and the end of the year to actually get something done for the people, or they might just say, forget about it. Let's just sit on our hands for the rest of the year, because who really cares at that point? And again, it's all going to be predicated on the midterm elections and actually what happens then. Now, a couple of things that I want to throw out there as well for you. As of right now, there's about half of the states, in fact, it's not quite half, there's about 20 of the states out there right now that are sending out stimulus checks on a state-by-state level. Now, again, these amounts vary in a huge degree. Some states are sending out $200. Some states are sending out like $125. Some states are sending out $400, $750, $800. In some instances, even like California, you could get up to over $1,000 in some instances in California. So some of the states are, for sure, sending out checks right here, right now as we speak. And between now and the end of the year, more checks will be going out on the state level. So take that into consideration as well. If you're in one of the states, see what you got to do in order to claim the money. In some instances, you might need to file a tax return on the state level. And again, this is not tax advice. This is not accounting advice. I don't know your situation. But even if you're somebody that does not file a tax return generally, if you have some money on the line, who says you can't file a tax return, right? Again, just something to consider if you're in one of the states that is sending out a state-issued stimulus check. It might be worth it to look into filing a state tax return, even though it doesn't really matter if you do or don't because your income is low enough. But the fact of the matter is, might be something worth looking into because you might be able to get a check on the state level. And again, not accounting advice, not tax advice. I'm just simply telling you it might be worth looking into if you can grab a few $100s or something out of your state. But again, when it comes down to it, out of a federal stimulus check, as in a $1,400 federal stimulus check, just like the three that we saw over the last couple of years, the $1,200, the $600, and the $1,400, when it comes down to that, as of right now, there is not a check in the works and there's not a check that's being approved yet. However, could that change at any given point? Absolutely it could. Anything could change with that, because here's the thing. I've been seeing a lot of reports on this, and again, I want to break this down for you because this is very important to understand. I've been seeing a bunch of reports that are saying the economy is likely going to slow down dramatically in the fourth quarter of 2022. By the way, fourth quarter being October, November, and December is the fourth quarter. So according to these reports, they're suggesting because of the actions out of the Federal Reserve and rapidly rising interest rates, therefore contracting the economy relatively quickly, they're anticipating that the economy is likely going to contract in a very big way in the fourth quarter of 2022. So that's something we need to consider. In the event that the economy does contract in a really big way, then remember that I've said this before, the more that the economy contracts, the more that the economy goes down, the higher the likelihood, the higher the likelihood of checks actually arriving, the higher the likelihood of checks actually being approved or even being, talked about, things like that. So please take that into consideration as well, because in the event that this economy contracts at the degree that some people are actually anticipating, we could potentially be looking at, something else coming forward as well. Because what happens in economic contractions? Well, number one, as the United States economy falls into a recession, we've known this before. We've had 3 data points to prove this. Over the last 21 years, all of the recessions that we've gone into, the recession of 2000, Y2K 2000 recession, the recession of 2008, and of course the recession of 2020, all produced stimulus checks. So why would we say that the next recession is going to be any different than that? It's probably not going to be, right? But the fact of the matter is we need to see how deep does it actually go. Do we just graze along the surface, dip into a recession, and then pop right back out? Well, in that case, then probably a stimulus check would probably not be issued. However, if we fall into a recession like we've fallen into over the last 3 recessions in 2000, 2008, and 2020, all of which were very deep recessions, right? Remember that? As a result of that, they all produced stimulus checks. So if that happens again, why would it be any different that checks would not be issued? Again, I've said this before and I'm going to say it again right now. When it comes down to inflation, again, we all look at the situation and think, wait, inflation is too high. There's no way they can send out checks right now with inflation being this high. Yeah, they can. There's no rule that says they can't send out checks with inflation being high. They don't care about inflation. When it comes down to it, what do they want to do? Do they want to save the economy or worry about inflation? Honestly, they want to save the economy. They couldn't care less about inflation. If it came down to the economy crashing and burning and skidding on its knees, things like this, you know what I mean? They're going to come in and they're going to rescue the economy. They couldn't care less about inflation. At that point, they look at the situation and they think, okay, what's more important? Actually saving the economy or worrying about inflation? Obviously, saving the economy is far more important than worrying about inflation. That is the secondary effect, and that is what is secondary to the economy. They couldn't care less about inflation in the event that the economy is falling off a cliff. They're going to save the economy, and by that, that means printing a bunch of money, trillions of dollars, and plowing it into the economy, right? And stimulus checks are a result of printing trillions of dollars, right? So, anyway, I want to point that out for you because we've seen that happen those 3 times, like I said, in the year 2000, 2008, and 2020 when we saw the last 3 recessions, right? Same thing happened every single time. There's no reason that the next one would be any different. It's going to be the same old thing. The numbers are just going to be bigger. That's the same old thing, right? So anyway, hope this gives you a better idea of what's going on right now. The few things that I'm watching very closely, and by the way, these are just a few of the things I'm watching. I'm watching a lot of other things as well. But again, it's going to take us a long time to talk through all those details, which I don't want to do in this video because I want to be respectful of your time as well. And I want to make this relatively short here. So when it comes down to it, as far as delivery dates, well, unless you're talking on the state level, as of right now, there are no delivery dates for a federally funded stimulus check to go out to the people. However, a few things, like I said, we got to watch the midterm elections very closely. We need to watch the economy and what we have happening in there. We need to watch the Federal Reserve very closely. We need to watch interest rates. We need to watch inflation as well as the jobs market and unemployment rate. We need to watch all of these things closely. So when it comes down to it, a stimulus check from the federal level is not approved yet, hasn't been, and there's no delivery dates there. On the state level, checks are going out all the time for many people on the state level. So please take that into consideration as well. As we do get more details, of course, I will keep you posted. So for those of you that have been asking, when are we going to get it? When will it be delivered? How much is it going to be? When will it be arriving in our bank accounts? All of these questions like this, of course, this is what we know as of right now. As I do get more details on anything in regards to money, checks, stimulus, raises to benefits, or anything else like that, of course, I'll be right here for you, breaking it all down, letting you know what's going on and how you can get your hands on some of that cash. So again, thanks so much for joining me. Please go back and check out some of the other thousands of videos here on the channel. There's a lot going on right now, and I want to help you out in any way that I can. And I'm bringing you all these dedicated videos each and every day. So check out those other videos here on the channel. Of course, share the video with your friends, family, social media, and go back and check out some of the other thousands and thousands of videos here on the channel. And until next time, subscribe down below, and I'll catch you again later in the next one. Hope this one helps you to better understand what is actually going on and to answer those questions that I've been seeing coming in down below. Anyway, enjoy. I'll catch you again later in the